Hey guys, welcome to a new Nashville Masterclass. I am your host, James Pablo May. This being my 51st video on here. The first 50, I feel I kind of did it stoically. Try to do things, on the level. But after 50 videos, I kind of just gonna do whatever. So, grab your grippy socks. It's time to go to the psych ward. Not really because they wouldn't let me in, but we'll go in our imagination. Now, please hit the like button. Or whatever. Any old who. So, if you're around my age, if you're in your mid, lower 30s on up, if you're an addict, then you more than likely taken a visit to the psych ward. Back in the day, that was really the only place you could go. Were, of course, always been treatment places, but those were very expensive, and if your insurance didn't pay for it. So the psych ward is where you would go. The psych ward is a terrible place on its own, and it is not conducive to somebody getting sober. Mental illness and addiction seem to go together. Sometimes it's the mental illness first, and they do drugs to try to control the mental illness on their own. Sometimes it's the drugs that come first that cause the mental illness. So I see why they would send people to psych. And also, addiction was thought of as a mental illness. But, the last psych ward I was at for addiction was the Murfreesboro, right out of Nashville, the VA hospital, and I had to deal with people screaming at the top of their lungs, just letting loose with racial slurs, taking off their clothes. It was horrible, and they lock you out of your room from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., so you're withdrawing on a cold linoleum floor filled with hair and fingernails and God knows what else. Also, they didn't have a good way to let you go through withdrawals. If anybody's around my age and been to the psych ward for addiction, the mixture of Phenergan and clonidine, which is a blood pressure medicine, and phenobarbital. It would knock you out the first couple of days. It was great. But after that, you just start getting sick again. And in the psych ward, there's nowhere to go. You've got that one little wing that's probably maybe 50 yards, if that. Just a hallway with rooms going off the sides. And, you're going through withdrawal and they're trying to wake you up for group. When you're going through serious withdrawal, group is good towards the end. The first few days, it's about impossible. Some places will let you sleep if you complain enough about it. Some places will literally have orderlies come in there and drag you out of the bed. I don't know anybody, not one person, that went to the psych ward to withdraw and then came out and was sober and stayed sober. Never heard of it. If you had the money to go from the psych ward to an actual place for addiction, that was your best shot. But it would probably been better to go to those places in the first place. Now, aside from just a psych ward at a hospital, the places for addiction, like Bradford in Alabama. Bradford was started by Dr. Howell and I guess Dr. Bradford. But Dr. Howell was a doctor. He was addicted to Demerol. And he kind of looked like Orville Redenbacher. But anyway, these places were just kind of like a psych ward. They gave you the same crap, clonidine, phenergan, phenobarbital, and people were just shuffling around in there. It was a lot better because you had places to go. You could go outside and smoke. And what I'm really, what the whole point of this is these places were medieval in their attempts to help people get sober. It was not a good time. Now, let's cut out the addiction part and just talk psych ward. If you go to a doctor, emergency room, your doctor, any hospital, and they ask you the questions, do you feel suicidal or homicidal? If you tell them that you are either one, be prepared to be locked up against your will. They can lock you up, depends on which state, from 24 to 72 hours for observation. And in that time, they are going to find any reason they can to keep you locked up against your will, especially if you have insurance. If you don't have insurance, they'll kick you out. If you do have insurance, who knows how long you'll stay locked up in there. I remember in Birmingham, I went to UAB and was locked up in the psych ward, and there was this girl in there, just some girl, okay? Months later, okay, I talked about when I overdosed on the methadone, saw whatever that thing was when they hit me with the Narcan. And I told you I woke up in a psych ward 3 days later. I woke up in another hospital. This is months and months after UAB, and now that girl was in there. She had never been out. They sent her from UAB straight to this other hospital, and they just bounce these people around. And the psych ward is definitely a necessity, but it's not really built to help anybody. There's not much good you can do by locking somebody up in this one tight space and hoping to help their mental illness. They will say anything to get out of there. But, more and more, the places for people with mental illness are going away. And where do they end up? On the street and in jails. The biggest mental health hospital in the whole United States is Los Angeles County Jail. And I've been there. And let me tell you, and I mean this, that jail was miles better than any psych ward I've ever been in. If I had a choice whether to be locked up in any psych ward or the LA County Jail's mental health wing, which is called the Twin Towers, I would definitely go with LA County. They give you good meds. You have more place to roam around. You can buy snacks off the thing, good snacks. And you can stay in bed as long as you want. But anybody that's dealt with addiction, I am pretty sure has gone to the psych ward. We all have those grippy socks, right? And we all have our own stories of how things happened. Most of us, I know me, multiple visits. I literally cannot count how many times I've been sent to a psych ward. And it makes you feel bad for those people in there that are not struggling with addiction, that are just struggling with severe mental illness. Because not only are they a prisoner of their own mind and their own body, they're a prisoner in these places and they can't escape. because their family members can't. That's why so many people with mental illness wind up on the street in jail. Their families cannot keep up with them. Families are not equipped for people with schizophrenia that just lose their shit, chase people around with a knife. It happens. And certainly not all people with schizophrenia are going to chase you around with a knife, no. But you never really know. I have a friend who's severe schizophrenia, and he's never done anything to me, but he did pull a knife on his family and chase him around. He's in prison for twice holding up a store with his finger for crack. And also, I think him taking LSD with us really made schizophrenia worse. And see, that's something you don't really hear much from advocates of psychedelics. They want to play it down. What is that? Michael Pollan, and he writes books and he has these videos on Netflix. He's like, yeah, it can, but most people don't. That's not good and correct. Yes, we want psychedelics to be available, but you need a better warning. You really need to talk about what happens to people who just take these drugs willy-nilly. The psych ward is going to be in your future. If any of you guys have stories about the psych ward, I know you're going to tell me in the comments, so go ahead and do it. I'm going to hope I never go back to the psych ward, and I hope you don't either, because no matter what you're there for, it's really no place to be. I'll see you cats.